Trials and trust. Trials and trust. This goes back now to our spiritual. Understanding this oxytocin, understanding trusting someone with your life, with your circumstances, causes oxytocin shifts. Read this in the scriptures, 1 Peter. In this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief and all kinds of trials. These have come so your faith, what's another word for faith? Trust. So your trust, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though it is refined by fire, may be proven genuine and may result in praise and glory. So we find ourselves in trials and difficulties and we extend our trust in God, we're going to get oxytocin surges, which are going to bond us closer and closer to God. But only if you're not afraid of God. Because after all this stuff I've told you, and this is why what we do in our class, constantly trying to promote the truth about God that takes away fear. Fear impairs oxytocin. Activities that decrease oxytocin is stress, adrenaline, cortisol, your fear, hormones impair the release of oxytocin. That's why if somebody is giving you a massage, but they are maybe like some rapist and some like perverted thing and you've got a gun to your head, you're not going to get oxytocin surges, okay? Fear is like suppressing that whole thing. And that's a good thing. You wouldn't want to bond to your rapist, right? Okay? So it's good it's designed this way, but spiritually, if we have fear of God, it impairs our union, our unity, our oneness with Him. You see the devil's strategy. And you see how fascinating it is how we're made. So, relational trauma and non-relational traumas of any kind, increasing fear, impairs oxytocin surges. Pain, both physical and emotional pain, impair or suppress oxytocin surges. And then drugs. Every illegal drug suppresses oxytocin. Especially narcotics. Narcotics suppress oxytocin. But in addition to suppressing oxytocin, amphetamines and cocaine damage the pleasure centers, the dopamine centers of your brain. And so what this means is, and the meaning of all this, what's the importance of it? That the best sex occurs in a healthy, loving marriage. That's what it means. Because the best sex happens when there's very little stress, very little anxiety, very little worry, very little pain. None of this partying out on the street and picking somebody up in a bar. In a loving, trusting relationship. So, what does this mean for our bonding with God? Well, I talked to you already about the neurological heart right here. Studies show, University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Newberg did some very interesting studies. 12 minutes a day meditation on a God of love shows growth in the anterior cingulate cortex in 30 days. It's larger. Not only did it show growth, it showed calming of the amygdala with reductions in stress hormones, heart rate, and blood pressure within 30 days, and improved memory. And these patients they were doing this on, or people in the study, were 60 to 65 years of age. So these are not just young kids whose brains are real pliable and grow real fast. This is in anybody. And if you remember what Ellen White said, that it would be good for us to spend a thoughtful hour a day contemplating the life of Christ, especially the closing scenes. And what are the closing scenes of the Christ life trying to reveal to us, except the most powerful revelation of other-centered, self-sacrificing love? And as we contemplate that kind of love, our love centers in our brain grow and our fear is reduced. And then when we have that loving understanding of God and we find ourselves in trials and trust Him, then we get greater oxytocin surges and greater bonding with Him. So Christ and His bride, the God concept which incites fear impairs genuine trust and faith. Because it's not going to allow this oxytocin surge. God concepts which incite fear prevent growth in the anterior cingulate cortex. Worshipping a God of love causes the anterior cingulate cortex to grow, and circumcision of the heart by the Holy Spirit is a literal change in brain wiring that comes when we come to the truth about God and trust Him. We bond with God. I think that's pretty cool. So the chemistry of sexual activity. Let's look at the chemistry of sexual activity.